Hey everyone, it's Joe. It's Saturday afternoon. Just finished up around the house doing Saturday chores, yard work, all that fun stuff. And Natalie's got her high school reunion today, which means I'm playing Mr. Mom. So before she heads out, before I take over being Mr. Mom, wanted to address a question that came up in the GPS for Love Facebook page here. It was from Andrea, one of the members of our community, who asked, if I had any input on how to make dating easier when children are involved. And since a lot of the members of our GPS for Love community are divorced and have children of all ages, I thought this was, instead of going back and forth in the post, I thought it'd be a great opportunity to create a question, to create a video. So here we go. So first of all, what you got to understand, and this is especially true if you have young kids, okay? If your kids are really small, I don't say infants, but, 5, 10, 15, in that early adolescence stage, it's really important to understand that the emotional health of the children needs to be the number one priority. I've seen so many parents who get caught up in feeling lonely or wanting to have someone to share their life with, that they bring guys in and the kids get attached, and it really, really screws the kids up emotionally. And I really, if nothing else you can get this, is that you have to really proceed with caution. Now, if the kids are older, there's always the emotional aspects of how dating is going to affect kids. So when my dad passed away, my mom was 41. Okay, I was 15, my sister was 11. Now my mom had to deal with, the effects of being a widow and trying to take over for two people and all that other stuff. So she didn't go back into the dating world for a couple of years. She had to get her life together. She had to get used to being a single parent, providing for my sister and I, and then putting herself out there. And then after a while, she put herself out there to start developing social circles, started developing friends. And I think that's really important, that if you're going to be single, instead of going right back into the dating world, find and connect with other like-minded single women. And single guys, too, if you can be friends. If you're emotionally strong enough and healthy enough and wise enough to be friends with a guy, I think it's great if you can have someone who's of the opposite sex to bounce things off of, to give you a sounding board, to give you some insight into how men operate and how men think and do things. So when my mother was single, she was putting herself out there, and she developed some great friends, and she's still friends with some of these women today. And then she got to a point where she's like, okay, I think I'm ready to date again. Now, before she did that, she sat down with my sister and I, and she talked to us. It's like, hey, you know what? The reality is, I'm a woman, I'm still young. I'd like to have someone to share my life with, but what do you guys think about that? Now, because of the experience, of my dad suffering with cancer for 4 years, and her being by his side and doing everything she could as a wife, and doing everything for us as a mother, we kind of knew that, yeah, you know what, it would be good for you, but make sure it's the right guy. My mother was wise enough to know that, you know what, I got to make sure if I do this, I'd pick the right guy for the right reason. So she wasn't on the hunt for a guy. Okay, she was just putting herself out there. She was dating. She dated a couple of guys here or there. And then she met the guy who ultimately would become her husband, who's now my stepdad. And from the beginning, it was, you know what? We're going to date. We're going to take our time. We're going to get to know each other. She was screening him, right? She was paying attention. She was putting him on probation. And ultimately, over time, he revealed that he was the guy that she was going to, to remarry. And so what I want you to get with this is that, again, with kids, is you got to make them the number one priority, but then to really, really proceed slowly. This is where you have to know yourself. This is where you have to be honest with yourself. And this is where you have to be at the space where it's like, you know what? And this is where my mother was. And I so respect her for this. She was like, you know what? I don't need a man. I want a man, the right man to share my life with. And if he's not the right man, I'm going to walk away. And that was her mindset. We used to, at this point, when she started dating, I was in college, and we would have conversations and like adults. And she always treated me like adult. That's what I want you, is even if your kids are younger, okay, they're smart, they're intelligent. If you treat them like people and say, you know what, I'm never not going to love you, and I'm never going to bring a man into this house or into your life if he's not going to love and respect you the way you desire to be loved and respected, and he's never going to come in between my relationship with you. If you make them know that they are still a priority to you, and that they are still number one, and that you're never gonna, not that you can't put a man ahead, there's a transition time. But as kids are young, they need their mom. They need that unconditional love and acceptance. So you've got to make them understand that. But more importantly, words are cheap. You know, your GPS for love, we talk about, you know, actions speak louder than words. You want to, you know, a guy can say or do all the right things, but his actions are a true reflection of who he is and how he's going to show up in your life in the world. So you've got to talk to your kids. You've got to let them know the deal, even if they're younger. And again, younger, you protect them. You keep a man away until, you know, it's like, you know what, okay, it appears this is the kind of guy that I'm looking for. It appears we're on the same page. It appears we're going to take it to that next level. We're both committed. Now I'm going to introduce him to the kids. Okay, you don't never ever force a man on your kids. Give them the time, give them the space to open up. And that's different for everybody, whether, you know, you're divorced, whether you're widowed, because your experience of you being single, whether it's being divorced or being widowed, and how you become divorced, was emotionally traumatic to them on some level, and it definitely will affect your ability to go forward and to ultimately start dating and starting a new relationship. So I'm a big believer is that you don't bring a man into your house, okay, around your kids, until you are pretty confident that he's the type of guy that you're looking for, that he's a good man, and that you're trying to build a future together. And if it doesn't work out, you know, don't hide anything from him. I went through this with one of my clients a couple of weeks ago, and she sat her daughter down, and it was beautiful because she was so worried about the effects on her daughter and how it was, what her daughter was going to think. And she sat down and she said, you know what, you know, this guy's not going to come around anymore. And you know what, he just, you know, mommy wasn't happy. And the girl, beautiful, I think she was like 8 years old, and said, you know what, mommy, that's okay. There's somebody else out there. You deserve better. And she broke down in tears because she was so afraid of what her daughter was going to say, but she simply opened up her heart. And that's what it's all about. It's about living from your heart. Get out of your head and into your heart, and just always tune in and do what's right in your heart. Listen to your gut, listen to your instinct, and first and foremost, put your kids first, until the right guy shows that he's willing to be a vital and important part of your life and their lives as well. So, you know, and I got to say, you know, people say, you know, I don't know if there's somebody out there. My stepdad's a great guy. You know, my parents now have been married, my parents, we call them my parents, now 30 years, okay? Almost 29, it'll be 30 next year. And, you know, my mom was married to my dad for 16, so she's now married longer to my stepdad than she was ever married to my dad. And he's a great guy. He's a great man. And, you know, so she found love twice. So I don't want to hear that there's no guys out there. You can't find love again. I don't want to hear any of that. But I learned a lot about dating and relationships and love and life from my mother. She was a great role model. And you got to understand is that the way you do things is teaching your kids how to do things. So if you just jump into bed, you jump into relationships, you stay with the wrong guys, you stay with guys who don't love you and honor you and respect you, well, that's what you're teaching your kids. So if anything, another takeaway from this video is make sure that you are dating with the mindset of that, you know what, I'm teaching you how to do things. And I'm going to teach you how to do it right. So even though the first one didn't work, that's okay. Everybody makes mistakes, and you can be honest with them. You can talk to them about that. Communication between parents and children is so important. You know, I have 3 boys, and Natalie and I, we don't sugarcoat anything. We tell them the truth, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we talk to them as if they're people. And when you talk to them as people, and you're upfront and you're honest with them, they have so much more respect for you. And that goes, you can't imagine how far that goes and how that's going to help them to grow up and be emotionally healthy individuals. Because unfortunately for a lot of us who didn't have parents who were emotionally healthy or emotionally available, or who were and just were so stressed out or were dealing with whatever their stuff, is they unknowingly projected their stuff onto us and effed us up in the head. And it's just sad. And I see that as a parent now, how unknowingly you could cause so much emotional damage to your children, thinking you're doing the right thing, but in hindsight actually making things worse. So that's it. trying to be as short as possible today because I know we go a lot longer on a lot of the other videos. But just wanted to address this question. And I do want you to know that I do read your questions. I do answer them. So if you have something that's on your mind, something that's a question, you go ahead and post a question. Who knows, it may be the next video. So if you like this, it resonates with you, go ahead, hit like, follow, and share it with your friends and loved ones. And I had lost train of thought there. Oh, if you have any comments, any questions about this video, make sure to post it below. As always, honor and privilege to be with you. I'll see you next time. Much love.